Welcome to our recap of Bring Her Back 2025, a chilling horror film that will keep you at the edge of your seat. The story opens with an old grainy VHS tape showing a mysterious cult attempting to bring someone back from the dead. Through their ritual, a woman appears to return successfully, proving that the dark ceremony worked. This eerie scene sets the tone for a story filled with suspense, supernatural occurrences, and deep emotional stakes. The narrative then shifts to two foster children, Andy and Piper, who are central to the unfolding events. They are step-siblings who share a strong bond, forged through years of relying on each other. Their world is suddenly shattered when their father suffers a tragic accident in the bathroom and dies. The loss is devastating, not only emotionally but also legally, as Child Protective Services steps in to decide their future. Piper, being a young blind girl, and Andy on the brink of adulthood at almost 18, are initially at risk of being separated. Yet it is clear that they cannot live without each other, and their attachment prompts the caseworker to allow them to remain together. Soon after, Laura enters the story, arriving with the intent to adopt a child. Upon meeting Piper, she feels an instant connection. Piper reminds her of her own daughter, who had recently died under tragic circumstances. Recognizing that Piper would not agree to leave without Andy, Laura takes both children into her home. From the moment they arrive, the house itself seems off. It is filled with subtle unease, and the presence of another child, Ollie, heightens the tension. Ollie is a strange boy, quiet, withdrawn, and unnervingly still, with eyes that seem devoid of any soul. His odd behavior immediately unsettles Andy and Piper, planting the first seeds of fear. Laura's interactions with the children are complicated. She seems particularly obsessed with Piper, seeing in her the reflection of her lost daughter. While she behaves aggressively and coldly toward Andy, she carefully cultivates a connection with Piper, even lying about Ollie's appearance, telling Piper he has red hair, knowing that her blindness prevents her from seeing the truth. This manipulation hints at a hidden agenda, leaving both the children and the audience wary of her true intentions. From their very first night in the house, Andy notices strange and inexplicable occurrences. Objects moving on their own, eerie sounds echoing through the halls, and Ollie's unnerving presence. Piper, despite her blindness, senses the tension in the house and the malevolent energy lingering around them. It quickly becomes clear that Laura's home is far from safe, and something sinister is quietly brewing, tied to the dark events that began with the VHS tape in the cult's ritual. That night, Laura takes Andy to a shed where she performs some unsettling activities. Andy cannot comprehend what is happening and tries to ignore it, but the sense of unease is overwhelming. On top of this, Andy faces another personal struggle. He begins experiencing bedwetting, something he has never dealt with before, which has started after his father's tragic death. Even going to the bathroom terrifies him, as that is where the fatal accident occurred. To cope, he tries to clean himself immediately, hiding the shame and fear. The next day, Andy and Piper encounter Ollie for the first time. They notice him hurting Laura's pet cat, leaving them shocked and convinced that Ollie is far from normal. His eerie, almost soulless behavior signals that something is deeply wrong. Laura then takes Andy and Piper to their father's funeral. Andy is terrified to look into his father's casket and lies to Piper, claiming that his father looks peaceful, masking his true fear. Laura quickly notices the lie but encourages Andy to focus and look inside the casket, subtly manipulating him further. She then makes a chilling request. She wants to kiss their father, but not on the cheek, rather on the mouth. Andy is horrified and runs away in shock. However, Laura proceeds to do exactly that and even collects some of his father's hair to keep with her, revealing a disturbing obsession. Meanwhile, Piper becomes furious with Andy after noticing he lied to her. They had a private code word, grave fruit, which they used when speaking honestly. Andy's use of the word while lying breaks Piper's trust, leaving her deeply upset. To calm them, Laura offers drinks, but when Piper, who is underage, sips, she quickly passes out, unable to handle the beverage. This moment exposes the dangerous gap between Laura's intentions and the children's safety. Later, Laura has a one-on-one conversation with Andy, revealing that she was once a counselor. This allows Andy to open up about his past. He asks Laura how she coped with the death of her own daughter, to which she responds that she never truly overcame it. Laura confesses that the grief from losing her daughter, Kathy, still haunts her, and she has never fully accepted the loss. Hearing this, Andy shares his own traumatic history. His father physically abused him and seemed to favor Piper and her mother after marrying her. Andy even admits that, in a moment of anger and jealousy, he once hurt Piper, a memory he deeply regrets. That night, Laura witnesses Ollie eating the cat's tail, further signaling that something is profoundly wrong with him. These events collectively heighten the sense of dread and tension, making it clear that Laura's home is far from the safe haven the children had hoped for, and that both Andy and Piper are now entangled in a dangerous, psychologically complex nightmare. The tension escalates rapidly as Laura immediately takes Andy to the bathroom to clean him up, following another unsettling night. While looking into the mirror, Laura is horrified to see a demon reflected in Ollie's image, an ominous glimpse that terrifies her. At the same time, it is revealed that Laura has been secretly pouring urine onto Andy's bed, making him believe he is experiencing bedwetting. This is all part of her sinister plan to mentally break Andy, ultimately isolating him so she can remove him from her home. The following morning, Laura takes Piper shopping, leaving Andy alone with Ollie. Despite his fears, Andy feels a pang of sympathy for Ollie and tries to take him out of the room. But Ollie's behavior quickly becomes more alarming. Instead of eating fruit, he begins gnawing on a knife, causing his gums to bleed. Andy is shocked and immediately wants to take Ollie to a hospital. However, Ollie cannot cross a white line, and when he does, his body undergoes disturbing changes, with something starting to emerge from his abdomen. When Laura and Piper return, Laura is furious at Andy for taking Ollie outside. She then plays a VHS tape showing the ritual's instructions, carefully drawing a circle on Ollie's forehead as part of the process. Later, when Andy finally attempts to shower, he is confronted by the ghost of his father, sending him into terror. Following their hospital visit, Laura feeds Ollie the hair of Andy's father as part of the ritual's gruesome requirements. She also shows Piper old videos of her deceased daughter, Kathy, dresses her in Kathy's clothes, and mimics her hairstyles, asking Piper to call her Mom. Piper refuses, insisting she wants to stay with Andy for now, enraging Laura. Laura's obsession intensifies when she takes Piper to a shed, revealing a freezer containing Kathy's dead body. She instructs Piper to touch it, coldly referring to the corpse as just meat. Meanwhile, Andy returns from the hospital to find Laura panicking. She had not wanted him near Piper while she performed the ritual, which she follows step by step from a VHS tape. The ritual involves multiple horrifying stages. First, contacting the demon, which Laura has already done through Ollie, who acts as a conduit. Second, mimicking the death, which she executes by dressing Piper like Kathy. Third, consuming the original body, requiring Ollie to partake in Kathy's corpse. The final step is yet to unfold, leaving both Andy and Piper in grave danger as the story hurtles toward its terrifying climax. The ritual reaches its horrifying climax with Laura's final, most sinister step, transferring Kathy's soul. Her plan is to merge Kathy's essence into Piper, effectively turning Piper into her deceased daughter. However, Andy's unexpected return threatens to derail everything. In a drastic move, Laura sprays Andy with body spray and attacks Piper while she sleeps, making it appear as though Andy has hurt her. The next morning, Laura accuses Andy, who vehemently denies any wrongdoing. She taunts him by reminding him of the past incident when he once raised his hand against Piper, provoking Andy's anger until he punches a wall. Piper, however, tells him to leave, deepening his frustration. Andy goes to the CPS office only to notice a missing child poster featuring a boy named Connor, who is the spitting image of Ollie. Through questioning, Andy learns that Ollie is not Laura's nephew at all. The boy had been kidnapped and is being used as a conduit for her dark ritual. Returning home with the CPS worker, Andy discovers that Laura has already cleaned up her tracks. When the CPS worker notices blood, Laura reveals her true nature, confessing that she is desperately trying to bring her daughter back from the dead. A tense chase ensues, during which Laura strikes the CPS worker's car with her own, killing her instantly, and drowns Andy in a puddle. Laura then approaches Piper to complete the ritual, but Piper hears Andy's voice, though it is actually coming from Ollie's body. When Piper touches Ollie, she realizes that Laura has lied to her about his curly red hair, exposing her deception. Laura attempts to drown Piper in the pool, but the voice from Ollie calling out "Mom" freezes her in place. Seizing the moment, Piper escapes, breaking the ritual and freeing Connor, who had been masquerading as Ollie. Crossing the white line, Connor experiences strange sensations, but ultimately recognizes his true identity when he sees the missing child poster. Authorities arrive just in time to rescue him. In the final haunting scene, Laura is seen in the pool with Kathy's decomposed body, having taken her own life after failing to resurrect her daughter. The film closes on Piper, safe at last, standing amidst the chilling aftermath of the ritual, finally free from Laura's twisted grip. Piper listens to a voicemail from Andy, in which which he confesses his love for her. After hearing his voice, she envisions a plane soaring across the sky, a symbolic representation of a special belief shared between her and Andy, that when someone dies, they take the next flight, moving on in a spiritual sense. For Piper, this moment provides emotional closure, helping her come to terms with the tragic events. A key question arises: who called out Mom from Ollie's body? The answer is that Laura had kidnapped Ollie and used him as part of the ritual. Because she had already completed a critical step, Kathy's soul resided within Ollie's body, and it was ultimately Kathy herself who called out Mom, giving Piper the crucial chance to break free. The ending of the film is deeply emotional. It portrays a grieving mother, Laura, who cannot accept the loss of her young daughter, Kathy, and goes to extreme lengths in a desperate attempt to bring her back. Laura's obsession drives her to kidnap children, psychologically torment Andy, and attempt to transform Piper into her deceased daughter. However, when she hears the word Mom, she freezes, perhaps realizing for the first time that her actions are monstrous and wrong. Piper is the heart of the story. Though blind, she is incredibly courageous, and Andy, her protective brother, always stands by her side. Andy's death is heartbreaking as he sacrifices himself to protect Piper and becomes an unintended victim in Laura's ritual. When he and the CPS worker confront Laura at her house, she reveals her true self, leading to a tragic accident that kills the CPS worker. Laura then drags Andy outside and drowns him in a puddle, completing part of her ritual, leaving Piper devastated. In the final moments, Piper remembers her brother and finds strength in his memory. The film closes with a mix of horror, tragedy, and emotional resolution as Piper survives, free from Laura's grip, while the consequences of obsession and grief leave a lasting impact. The story of Bring Her Back, 2025, is not just a horror tale, it's a tense, emotional exploration of loss, obsession, and the enduring bond between siblings.